Hello, everybody. It's December 3rd today, the International Day for Persons with Disabilities. And to many, it is perhaps the best day to talk about inclusive education. But irrespective of a child's physical or cognitive abilities, isn't a child entitled to have basic education? Isn't it a child's right? So we at I4Inclusion have decided not to talk about any disabilities today. Rather, think about the ways to ensure every child's basic right to education. Welcome to the 34th episode of Let's Talk Inclusion, friends. My name is Manobina Chakraborty, founder I4Inclusion. And my guest today is Professor Sudesh Mukhopadhyay. Welcome to Let's Talk Inclusion, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being our guest today. Everyone who is working in this field of inclusive education in India knows Professor Mukhopadhyay very well. But to follow the structure of this program, I'm trying to give a brief introduction of her work once again. Professor Mukhopadhyay, yes, ma'am. Professor Mukhopadhyay is one of the pioneers of inclusive education in India. Formerly, she was a professor and head of inclusive education at NIEPA, director of SCERT Delhi, and chairperson of Rehabilitation Council of India, RCI. Professor Mukhopadhyay specializes in education of the persons with disabilities and teacher education, and has many publications in these areas. She is consulted by the Government of India, NGOs, as well as many international agencies. Professor Mukhopadhyay is a PhD in education from MS University, Baroda, Associate of London University, Institute of Education in Special Education, and a visiting fellow to Manitoba University, Canada, and Macquarie University in Sydney, Australia. We are honored to have you as our guest for the second time, of course, in Let's Talk Inclusion, ma'am. Ma'am, before we formally begin, I would just like to tell our viewers about the SDG 4. May I?
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. The Sustainable Development Goals are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs were set up in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. Sustainable Development Goal 4 is about quality education. The vision of SDG 4 is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The topic of discussion for today's episode is Achieving SDG 4, where we stand and where we are going to. Now, my first question to you is, how do you envision the attainment of the SDG 4 in our country? Some people, disillusioned by the present state of our education system, think SDG 4 is an impossible dream for India. I would love to know what you think, ma'am.
Well, I am one of those persons who never try to see what is not there in a class. No? I always start with what is there because I feel the terms like impossible is not in nature's dictionary. Am I right? And today the word is resilience, as we are talking about. Whatsoever may happen, we always bounce back. And that is the great power of human civilization. So for me, SDG 4 and all the 17 SDGs rather, we should also see that across all constitutions in the world, all religion, anywhere, whatsoever reference point you pick up, somewhere we always have the same intent and spirit, though our wordings may differ. So for me, SDG 4 or SDG, all the 17 SDGs are somewhere, whatsoever is also written in our constitution also, because basically you talk about human rights, quality of life, you talk about the dignity, and then there will be enabling factors which will do that. So though these 17 goals have more than 167 indicators, and again, there are sub-indicators, certain things are to be realized by 2020, certain things will be realized by 2030, and our policy says we will be realizing certain things by 2040. So things are happening on this thing. So I do not think that there is something like impossible, but yes, we have to work on equity, quality, dignity, and rights. These are the 4 basic messages which we get from this SDG 4, and this is for every person, because SDG 4 is not only about school education.
Yeah.
It is the whole spectrum. And if today the message is what pandemic is taught us, you at your age are also learning, and at this age also, I have been attending today artificial intelligence and the whole continuum of the things since morning, because learning cannot stop. So impossible word, as long as learning is there, there cannot be an impossibility. So for me, SDG 4 or anything we all decide as a group of people, we will strive for it. And so nothing is impossible. We will make it happen. That's it.
Thank you. And now, what concrete steps are being taken in different parts of the country to attain this goal?
Okay. So because just now we are talking about India, I'm not going to talk about the global things, though there may be participants across the world also, different countries also. But number one thing we should all understand that out of these 17 goals, when we talk about, because they are with reference to the people of any country for that matter, including our own country. So we should see that they are interactive in nature. They are not parallel. That's one point. The second point is, as far as the India's context is concerned, please remember education is on the concurrent list. So there are certain things which are stated as a policy, a larger framework by the federal government or the central government. And central government in turn is also responsible to whatsoever international treaties or larger things are happening. And that is why we are talking about SDG 4. Am I right? It is a UN thing. It's not a country-specific thing. And another important thing is that there is a huge responsibility for the states, especially if we talk in the context of national education policy, which says that though education is on a concurrent list, but because we are talking about inclusion, and whenever we talk about inclusion, all disadvantaged groups come into focus because they are on the parameters. So in that case, states have a greater responsibility, explicitly stated now, as compared to the earlier times, because earlier they were covered by the centrally sponsored schemes in many ways. But now in near future, slowly those things are changing, and there are larger international reasons also why these things are happening. So I think we all are working towards is right top to the bottom and bottom to the top, because policies can be taken at the central level, but implementers are you and me. And the last, even the child himself, the students himself. So for me, I feel that lots of things are going on, but today, what is, as you started saying yourself, that though it is an international day for the disabled, and we talk about all those things for the last maybe 2 decades or more now, the important thing is how we conceptualize the whole thing. You made a very important statement, and how the way we conceptualize that is the way we will interpret our indicators and monitor ourselves. And that is where the problem comes. And today, when SDG 4 is being monitored in our own country, NITI Aayog itself says again and again, the real-time data is not available, number one, and it is only available for certain aspects and not for all the indicators. And as a result, within SDG 4 also, all, maybe you will like to show it to the persons when we say SDG 4, what all is covered under that and what we are referring to. And they will be able to put that why out of that only few things are being responded as of now to say where we are standing with respect to SDG 4. So will you like to do that at this point?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Do that. So now, as you can all see that when we are talking about here, we are talking about quality education, we are talking about inclusion, we are talking about all of this. And there are 7 targets and there are other 4 A, B, C, which are the means of implementation. But when it comes to us in this country, as per the, you all may be aware of this, that NITI Aayog is the organization in the country, just as US has its own UN has its own department which monitors these UN reports annually. They give it. Similarly, every country also has its own body, and in our case, it is the NITI Aayog. And NITI Aayog has brought out the 3rd report now, only recently, and it is directed towards the goal number 17. Okay. But it also talks about what all has happened. And when you look into that, then you see we are still answering only to 4.1, where we are talking about this universal provision for secondary, primary, and all those type of things. Yeah. And under that, 4 indicators it has selected for itself. When it 4.2, which is pre-primary education, we have still not made a commitment. Though there is a move on because our WCD has agreed now to train the Anganwadi workers for that, which has been now mentioned in this thing. And that will happen to have that 3 to 8 when the new structure comes. So those are, but still we are not have enough data to make any comment what has been our achievement and what are, but efforts, if you say, I will, yes, our NEP is the reflection for that. The inter-ministry coordination is the reflection for that. And whatsoever happen at the center will also happen at the state and sub-state levels, walking up to the school complex level. Okay. And then, so 4.2 we are jumping, then 4.3 again we answer in terms of the proportion in higher education. If you remember, we are already targeting that 50% will be the population of eligible population in higher education will be joining that. But our achievement as of today is only 26.3. So it means about, if you minus from 50, 27, do a quick calculation. So about 33% or so is still remain, 23% or so is still the gap. Similarly, then 4.4 we are again not talking, but then 4.5 we are talking about the percent of persons with disabilities who can have at least secondary education. Target fixed is 100, but we are still somewhere around 19 or 20 only. That's the gap. So similarly, then gender parity index, of course, we are very happy about that. We had a target of 1 and we have achieved that. 4.6% of persons who are literate, 15 years and above. Again, 100% with the target, we are still at 74.6. When we talk about, now after that, so to realize, again 4.7 we are not addressing. So what I mean to say that 7 targets, larger targets under indicators under the SDG 4, we are only dealing with 4.1, 4.3, 4 only. 3 we are not even touching at this particular point of time because real-time data is not available, or the states have not been able to give that, or we have not conceptualized the way we needed to conceptualize and have not developed the proper indicator and targets for that. But what are the implementing things which we need to do, again, where you talked about in your that thing 4A, B, and C. Again, A is something which is about percentage of schools with access to basic infrastructure. We have fixed a target of 100 and we are at 84.76%. But trained teachers for secondary, again, we are doing okay, 82% or so pupil teacher ratio there. But the way they have said it for other things, when I try to explain, if I get the time, what are the things which we have not been able to do that we will talk about. But overall, our achievement towards SDG has been only 57% so far.
Okay. Ma'am, we have started getting questions. There's a question from Jayarash. Madam, can you explain what 4.4 means?
What is not there? That is what the person is asking me. I will just read. It is relevant skills for decent work. That is what the 4.4 is all about. And according to the UN, and so naturally, because we are not considering, so as a country, we have not interpreted or fixed it. So I can only read about what UN has said it about it. They say substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. So, you know, Skilling India has just started. Now we have a different ministry. So if you say effort is being made, yes. In higher education, the things have been changed. Now we say there will not be, there will be flexibility both at the school level and higher education level. You can move from this thing, you can do internships and all those things. So if you say, are we moving towards that? Yes. But has government fixed it, this thing and we are monitoring ourselves? No. What it means is, equitable access to technical vocational education needs to be expanded while quality is ensured. That is the whole point, because remember, this target is about quality education. Learning opportunities should be increased and diversified, and skill acquisition is beyond work-specific skills. And that's why you remember in our curriculum, school curriculum, whether CBSE or other, now we have got life skills also as part of the larger curriculum. So this is what 4.4 is all about. I think the person who has asked this question may have the reference point now.
Ma'am, there are many questions actually. Do you want me to show those questions to you?
It is for you, whatever you have got 1 hour. So whatever you want me to do, I'm fully prepared and also ready to send you all the material if later on they want it.
Yes. Actually, many people are very enthusiastically getting engaged to this program today.
Okay, see, paper material I can share with you anytime they want. That's not an issue. So we can be in the dialogue mode. I am okay with that.
Thank you, ma'am. So Mrs. Anjali Pillai has said how to ensure quality inclusive education for all neurodivergent students.
Anjali, I have a very good news which only I got yesterday. I know a girl called Divyanshi Joshi. She has been awarded by the government also, and she is employed, and she is a girl who is now 27 years old, and she is what we call the Down syndrome. Am I right? When I started working in this field, we never expected, literature used to say many of them may not survive also that long also. See, there were lots of misconceptions and things. But today, imagine this girl. Her inclusive education started in Nagpur when things were not so. Can you imagine her Nagpur about 20 years back? But she was in inclusive setup. Am I right? And later on, after passing class 7th or so, she shifted to NOIS, which have the flexible curriculum. And I know her mother, who's a homemaker. Of course, father works in IBM, and he's also president or something of this neurodiversity, some organization and all. But Anil has always told me how his wife worked very hard to make the curriculum simple, the NIS curriculum. And that is how this girl passed 12th. She is employed, and she has been given the Best Employee Award by the organization where she works. So my answer to your question is, inclusive education is a process. And it is the same. Today we had discussion with Anita Kuru, who is based in Bangalore and work on gifted and talented. And you know what the term she used? That gifted children are also special education need children, because they run into these things. So when we say neurodiversity for our kids, whether they are with learning disability or they are, say, Down syndrome or still other type of intellectual disabilities, or they are our autistic spectrum persons, they are high functioning, and they may also be having a basic things. The question is, are we able to, number one, give them that emotional security? That is where the relationships start, whether it is within the family, at the workplace, or our schools or colleges, wherever. Because I have seen very brilliant young persons, because you remember in higher education, they need not disclose their disability if they don't want. So in one of the workshops where learning disability was being discussed by one of the very famous experts of this country, one girl, I have somehow the tendency that if some audience is something, I immediately get attentive. I find this girl nodding her head like anything. I said, "Madam, that is not what I am." She was a learning disabled person, but in college. And she said, "Nahi, aisa nahi hai, aisa nahi hai." So my question is, whatever is written in the books, sometimes it doesn't happen, because maybe that girl got a lot of support when they're in the school stage. Then it is we who are the mediators to give them that emotional security and also deliver, or rather say, transact education with them in a way that make they feel accepted, they can access that bit of information. And that's why I talk about. And now when our international guidelines are being issued for the web content and all those things in India, already this work has been done by NCERT. This is available on the NCERT website. The first thing we are talking about e-content and what is the basic message. The subjects which does not need so much of language, avoid. And that is the problem with many of our kids, because we deliver the things in a vocabulary which is not there with them. So rather than understanding the concept, they get bothered about, and then we say they are not able to perform. And simple example is in our own country. Did you find any ASA report ever talking about any of the person from disadvantaged group, leave aside SC, ST and OBCs? Did you ever find them telling how persons with disability are performing? Never. National Achievement Survey? Never. Why? Because we feel if we are persons with disability, we are a different category of persons, as if they don't happen in urban areas or rural areas or with rich people or poor people. No, we are just as like gender. Our children are everywhere. They are not a group of people. They are not a community by themselves that you will say, oh, this is what, and that is what is the problem about inclusion is it is here. First here and then here and then here. So I think that is the only way. If you feel, even if the unknown situation, but if you feel here, you will find a solution. And that is why I started in human nature, in the larger context of nature. There is nothing like impossible. So I am sure that it's a roundabout answer maybe to the Anjali's specific question. But Anjali, for me, it's a question. If you understand your child, whether he's a student, your colleague, or anyone, what type of neurodiversity or for any diversity that person brings does not matter. The moment you contact with him or her, that is where we start doing inclusion. Inclusion is not a physical thing that I can show you like this, that this is inclusion, because as we grow, and what is my experience of since 83, 84, people ask me, you were inclusive education, why did you join the Rehabilitation Council, which stand for disability? I say, if I had not gone there, maybe the inclusion would not have started and we would not have crossed disability entering in our NEP 2020. Am I right? It is an evolving thing.
Very true.
It's an evolving thing. And that is why today you will be surprised, even when NIEPA was started and first global monitoring reports come, you check the first reports till 2002, there is no mention of disability. People like me across the world fought for us to be accounted for in that global monitoring report. And today, the UN and every agency is giving us. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
It is our acceptance as a society.
Yes.
And that is what SDG 4 is all about at the end of the day.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, there are so many questions. One more question from Mrs. Bina Patel. What do you think about RCI being a helping hand to promote inclusive education?
Now RCI is also undergoing a great change. I hope you people have already seen the Supreme Court judgment of October 2021. Have you?
Yes.
See that. And also see the Supreme Court of US judgment of 2017. Let me first start with US, because we like to copy others. Huh? In US, it is compulsory to, what they say, education is more or less free. Am I right? It is a local education authority thing. But in that country also what is happening is parents at times feel the child is not being appropriately served. I know on the personal level also cases of neurodiversity where parents have to tell the school, please refer him to the special school for that learning disability or something. Reluctantly there. But you know what Supreme Court has said in US now? If a child is not appropriately and adequately served in the mainstream and he has to go for another service, that education authority will have to bear the expenditure, and it is not parents' expenditure. Important message for all of us. And because I am pained by the High Court decision of Bombay High Court, when they say if you have an autistic child, then parents' duty is to get a shadow teacher for him. Okay. Now our own Supreme Court has come out after a long debate. It is a 100-page judgment. If you read it, you will know what is the history of inclusive education in this country across all ministries. But now it has said that RPWD Act reference, they have given the reference to RPWD Act, and they say the our Central Commissioner for Disability through the state commissioners dealing with all the linked departments will have to answer these questions by March 2022. And the whole thing started with the special educators and all those things. Though now policy has told about cross disability, and when it comes to special educator, they are saying RCI along with NCT. So they are forcing these two regulatory bodies to talk to each other. But in 2014, when NCT started 2-year B.Ed program, they made it 2 years B.Ed and all, I was RCI chairperson. That time, I have made the courses from single disability to multiple disabilities, where you try to give information about practically whatsoever the disability, because remember that time this 2016 Act has not come. So we have limited number of disabilities at that time. But you may have a major expertise in X disability, but you should know at least one more. And then through your CREs and other, you need to build the building blocks, because we all agree. Even for a doctor, he has to be an MBBS before he becomes an oncologist or a cardio. Am I right? But some of the other, under rehabilitation, we started from the specialization and we never bothered about the generalization. That's why we ran into problem. But our technical difficulty has been with RCI, because the degrees are decided by the UGC. So UGC have listed B.Ed General Education's degrees name and RCI's also. And that last came somewhere in 2009 or 11. So we could not change in RCI the name the way degrees were given, B.Ed Special Education in VI, MI and all. But we made it a public document and said that it is a cross-disability course. These are the things, and even the subject matter things we have taken. So RCI is already on that ground. Even a 4-year course by MIT University was started and approved. So RCI is working on this thing, but now because of these judgments and because of the trends which is going on at this point, because of NEP and the inter-ministry coordination, already NCT, RCI and NCRT, these three organizations are to work together to resolve some of these issues. And of course, RCI will still have a greater challenge, because remember, most of the courses are being run by the private enterprises or NGOs or something, but affiliation to different universities. So that is also a great challenge, because unlike NCT, RCI did not have that hold on where the teacher recruitment and all those issues come. But I am sure with this Supreme Court judgment, that's why I'm quite happy about that it has given for the first time a direction, because it started with UP and Punjab. That is where the special educator, this recruitment issues had started, and this court case came to the Supreme Court. But it says, though it is being delivered in the context of these two states, but it is applicable to all the states and UTs in the country. So that's where the 100 pages reading may not be easy, but the last 4-5 pages one must read to understand the gist of what is being done. And once it is a Supreme Court judgment, on the other hand, we have got the NEP directions, and Parliament is also working on that. And there are now even twice exceptional children being talked about. So RCI or NCT or NCRT, they have no alternative, but we all need, and that is why I said education is on concurrent list. Disability is a state subject. This was this type of context in my mind until unless the state departments will take up that action. Because many of you will not be know that equivalence between courses for recruitment purposes is given by the state and not by a central authority. So Tamil Nadu has already given the equivalence between the general B.Ed courses and RCI B.Ed courses for the purpose of recruitment, and so many special educators were also recruited that. So inclusion is being done by RCI, but there has been certain technical problems due to which we had, and that's why that foundational course also did not took off, which started few years back, but later on it was closed down, which was being run by the evening. Another question of RCI, I can see.
Yeah. Most of the questions are for RCI. Shailija Sharma, do you think the school managements also need to be made aware of the latest laws on rights of children with disabilities, and what should be the role of RCI here to ensure quality?
Even see, just now I told you, an internationalized course, this thing. So RCI does all this work through the, CREs, continuous, what they call it, upgradation courses which they run and all. But again, see, depend on how the courses are designed and how do we interact with them, or people are just there to collect the CRE points and they do not want. And even in the general education also, for example, other day, the SCERT of Union Territory of Chandigarh, they were conducting programs for all the persons and all, because now states will have to make the state curriculum framework, which NCERT once, I think it already has done something for the states. I'm not very aware of that. So there, all these things will be captured. So automatically now when RCI will run these courses, and as the need for the upgradation of the existing teachers, because the future is going to be a different type of courses even for teacher education. Am I right? And RCI, please remember, RCI is not only about education. Inclusive means special educators that do it, but then they have got 20 other rehabilitation personnel which they need to prepare, which school complexes are going to recruit for the therapy person to serve the children in that proportion. So I think RCI has a larger role beyond producing special educators. And now with NEP giving this responsibility to NCT, I think we are going to see some of more changes. Maybe both organizations will have to work, or maybe those credit transfer policy, whatever, and they are saying it in the UGC also, changes are going to be there. So there may be a different type of partnership may emerge across the bodies, and it will push up our SDG score for teachers.
Yeah, similar question. Just address.
Yeah, school management needs to be made aware of this thing, because please remember, even organizations like IITs are in problem because they are not understanding the rules. Yes. So schools also have to understand and do all the things which are required. And for that, please remember, even if you are a CBSE affiliated school or a state board, I think about a year back, or maybe little bit more than that, CBSE has issued specific directions to the school principals that what all, and there is full section on the children with disabilities which schools have to answer if they want the children, because it's not that all of a sudden a child becomes, a school says that I have got these many disabled children and I need these concessions. So if you, as a school principals, if they read that, they have no way out, because those guidelines have been made by the CBSE in the light of RPWD Act. So where is the choice for the school management committees? But sometimes, again, as I said, it is our conceptualization and the way we decide to monitor it. We don't pay any attention to the things which need to happen at the school level. And sometimes even as a parents, as a teacher, we don't ask for those things. They are already there in the rules.
Yes. A very big question by Mrs. Kabita Sharma. I think it has a second part as well.
Well, RCI has no problem in opening, Kavita ji. The question is, university departments are not coming forward. This time, recently I heard from Amritsar, they have started some courses, but of course, the process under which they apply and whatsoever are the conditions, that is has to be met in terms of the faculty. For example, this SNDT runs a very great department of say special education. But if you look at, most of their faculty members are contractual. And this SNDTs, this particular department has a good reputation for our neurodiversity. They specialize in that area. But the problem comes whether the university departments are now ready to take up that responsibility and come forward, because under one of the UGC scheme of TEPSE, some university departments were given grants by the UGC to open. Jamia is one example, Kurukshetra is there. There are many other also in the country. Some of the university have absorbed those departments as the regular thing. And some of them, they took it only as a project or a plan thing, as long as monies come from the UGC, this one. But when they have to, because all centrally sponsored scheme, after some time, the government, respective whatever is the body, has to take up that responsibility. So that does not. So no one is stopping. RCI is open. Rather, it's so many open universities have taken up the course. Am I right? So it's not, RCI is not stopping anyone, but whether they are ready to fulfill that condition, because you can't run a course for persons with means focus on different type of disabilities. Even learning disability, it came much later in RPWD Act, but RCI had a course much earlier than that, because I remember answering a parliament question on this.
Okay.
So it's there.
One more question.
We are in December, we were supposed to have had census done. This would have given us the real-time data about the exact number of any update on the census. So far, to the best of my knowledge, they are planning it, but census as such has not been done. But I don't know, now this household survey has come on which the population data is coming, whether it will throw some light on this or not. I'm not sure about that. And seventh survey by the NCERT, which they does on schooling, they did talk about the special schools and all. But I think the greatest issue which just now we all are facing is, now in census, how do you take out this 21 disabling condition? Because when you go to the field level to collect that information, what type of questions one should ask to know that that person has. So now two things are happening in this country, whether it will get reflected in the census or not. Already there is a movement in the country, and that is why I was referring to Anita Kurup's work from this National Institute of, I don't know what is the name, NAS, something like that it is called, which talks about, which is specialization of gifted children. They are talking about standardized tests to identify a person's condition vis-a-vis the nomination by the parents, teachers, and other persons who find that this child is very different. Because see, when even a child is different within a family, the mother will understand that my other children aise karte the, this child is doing like this or something like that. So even that thing is being talked about, and there is also a direction from the court to the MSJE that those who are less than 40% disability also, if they need certain adjustments in examinations and such type of things, they should be given. These have got larger implications. So when we talk about the census, it all because, and that is why in the beginning I made a conception statement that how we conceptualize That is how the information is collected. And today I am having problem with UDICE Plus, because when they say real-time data and when they put the type of things there, again it comes to what are input things, RAMs, this, that, but learning achievement ka indicator we have not been able to make. And that's why, though NCERT says we covered our children with disability in the schools for their achievement, learning achievement, but they have not been able to bring out a report separately. ASAR also did a lot of work along with the CBM, and I was part of that work to have a sort of assessment on what we call the literacy, basic foundational literacy, about which our policy also not talking about. I know that tool is ready and all, but it has not been upscaled after this thing. The problem comes that how do people really, because if you misjudge, if see on any condition, whether medical or other, it is not a list of checking this. It is a pattern over a period of time. So how a census will collect that, and whether it will be in the larger interest of the persons or it will not be, that is another question which we really need to think about and answer. How do we go about that? Because 21, how can I say that there can be multiple disabling condition? Today, see, we are realizing it. Even my blind child may also be LD.
Yes.
He can also have neurodiversity, am I right? And my CP person can be very high on the IQ.
Of course.
So this is the problem of about labeling. And I think for the education purposes, we need to have a different type of thinking about it. And when it comes to giving some concessions, some reservations, some facilities to enable for economic reason or something, I think two things should be kept separately, and we should work on that, because segregation in the long run is not going to help anyone of us.
Sure. One more question from Shruti Baida. What kind of cooperation is expected mutually between general teachers and special educators towards full inclusion?
I do not know. If you ask me, I will just say both are teachers. So their concern should be first the child, how he or she can be best served. And then we decide how do we partner. You remember in many countries, they have a system of teacher and teacher assistants. Even the Finland model, if you look at this, the very question which you are asking me, the country which claims to be most inclusive and responsive to the disadvantaged groups, because they have got different types of issues than us. But yes, these conditions are also there. But there also they have special assistants, special education assistant and special educators, and the status of both the differ. Special educator has more powers to decide and all. And this special educator assistants are there, which are helping the general classroom teachers to address the requirements of that. In our country, the problem has occurred. I think it's more of an administrative problem. If I have to sit in that chair as a director education of a given state, and I took out an advertisement, I need special educators, I will also specify what is their roles and function. What do I expect? Today, the basic problem is neither we are clear about their service conditions, nor we tell them what do we expect from them. And that is why, as Manobina told you, my interaction with this field started as early as 1984. And when the first IED scheme, where they used to give some allowance to a teacher who was in a given school and he was responsible for a child for disability. That was the condition. So I did a lot of field survey before that IED scheme of 1974 was modified in 1980s. The teacher told me, मैडम ये 200 रुपया आप ले लो, मुझे नहीं चाहिए. अभी तो ये बच्चा सिर्फ मेरा है, ये पूरे स्कूल का बच्चा तो बना ही नहीं है. that is where it started. And for parents, what it was, oh, इस बच्चे को हर में इतने पैसे मिलते हैं, so let it be, even if he's 18 years old, let him be sit in class 1. That is where this journey started for many of us in this country. So today, when we have a now cadre of professionals whom we say special educators, and we have said teachers, and on the other hand, as under SDG, we say inclusion as an approach. The country also says inclusion as this thing. Then we have to think about how this child can be best served. There may be situations where he or she may need extra support, but there are also situations where he and she can be served along with the children, create that alternative. Please remember, we have large schools and we have got small schools. Larger schools, it will be possible to have enough manpower on what we call the ideal lines. But for smaller school, feasibility will not work. And that is why under school complex now they are talking about that this larger school will be responsible for a number of schools in its vicinity. And these type of special services which may not be could not be justified on one-to-one basis, जैसे हम बाकियों के लिए बोल देते हैं, अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अभी इस वाले में भी बोला है कि 8 या 10 के ऊपर एक टीचर अपॉइंट होगा. But where are those 8 and 10 children located? We all know who work in inclusive setups that at one time I may have 4 children with different disabilities in a given school, and there may be, after these children pass out, there may not be any child for next year. So where will this teacher be appointed? So they say these will be appointed to the school complexes, because then it becomes again the itinerant model. But the problem with this is who will decide their service conditions? Because as human beings, we all search for career paths. Am I right? Stability. And just now, it is not there except for a few states like, say, Tamil Nadu. That's what I was giving the example, because their Department of Social Welfare or Social Justice, whatever you call it, they recruit them. And the General Education Department also recruits them because they declare the equivalence and they have a better mapping system. So that is where I said that this is something which has to be taken by the states, because recruiting authority is the state. Central government only makes the policy. Even our Kendriya Vidyalayas are facing a court case because all their special educators even today are on contract basis.
Yes.
Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti says 3% reservation, but in one of the recent programs, none of them, they could tell whether they have got any children with disability. On database, I could find hardly 1 or 2 schools where 1 or 2 children were. So this is the problem, that ultimate rule, this is not about special educator or general educator. The question is how to address the educational needs of that child, and educational needs goes beyond the cognitive domain of knowledge. It is so many other skills also, and also his or her future trajectory of as a human resource. That is where we need to pitch, and that is where this HD4 is really directing us. But then, next question.
Kavita ji again.
Huh. What? I agree with you, but we cannot address the specific requirements of PWDs if we do not have even incidences of 21 days. No, that data has started coming. Where did I see? I'm not able to recall this thing, but I have seen this data, that how many persons with how many disabilities are there. Kavita ji, I will search it out and send you that information, because that data I saw recently somewhere. This thing, whether it was state-wise or national-wise, that I am not able to answer offhand. But that type of data is coming up. But when you say census, then it is a deliberate effort to go from door to door and do that. So that is why, even if you remember, earlier we have National Sample Survey when first estimation of disabilities was done. It was not the larger census. And now as a country, we are due for larger population census. And that is why I address that. Otherwise, if you say school mapping, micro planning, all those things, and even village education committees are supposed to do the survey in their own areas. And that data need to be compiled. And that is why sometimes under UDICE, you say ki how many children are out of school and how many are there. And under disability, then some data is given. But what is the authenticity of that? That is what a big question mark for us for the larger census survey of the population. That is what I meant by says, yes, incidents and all, but please again remember, for example, incidence is always also, now this pandemic has created so many problems. We do not know whatever we are defining under this intellectual disabilities and mental illness and all those things, what the data in future is going to come for us. Even children who don't have disabilities, but who are on the giftedness, even they are also worried about their kids. So we do not know mental health people. That's why just now so many meetings are going on. So many, I hear so many psychiatrists conferences and all those things. Sometimes I get roped into those type of things also. And they are expressing this concern about the mental health of our children as well as the other population, and which has multiplied according to the latest Sustainable Development Goals reports also, that the poverty has increased and the number of children who are at risk for health and other reasons has also increased, but no one has an idea how many where they are. That's a larger issue. So incidents and all those things, I'm sure the data will come, but I also know that for even the larger census, these issues are being discussed, but concrete, I will not be able to really say with definite answer. I can't give. But yes, in our habitations, we can start doing this and find out, and that is always the beginning point as far as the education is concerned. It is not dependent on census. It depends on the house-to-house survey.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for addressing almost all the queries of our audience. We have a little time constraint, so may I request our viewers to send their questions to us at I4 Inclusion. We will surely answer Professor Mukhopadhyay.
I will answer everything, and I will also share the larger information, just as I shared with you now the what I was reading out the data for these UTs and all was this SDG 4 page number 96, the latest index. I have compiled all the information, but naturally offhand referring to so much of data and recalling becomes a problem. But then another information also I will like to say is now our poverty index is also out for the country. And the UN, as I was saying, that when they have given the SDG report for the whole world just now, it is called the Sustainable Development Goals Report 2020, which baseline data is of the June 20. It means after the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it says now an estimated 71 million people are expected to be pushed back into extreme poverty. And our own poverty, this thing, it is the SDG 1. SDG 1 is about the elimination of poverty. So in our own country, they say, what Niti Aayog has written, it has 3 equally weighted dimensions: health, education, and standard of living. MPI, that is how it says, and which in turn is represented by 12 indicators such as nutrition, school attendance, years of schooling, drinking water, sanitation, housing, bank accounts, and others and others. So my whole question is that now with, on one hand, we are monitoring SDG 4, which I said it is dependent on many of these things, and that's why deliberately I'm reading this MPI, our poverty index, about which the whole world is also concerned just now. And we have not been able to say reach a point of 100 तो सवाल ही नहीं उठता. We are still somewhere between 50 to 60, 57 point only. So as a country, we are just a performer on some of the indicators, and many of the states and UTs who have shown good, leave aside Kerala and Pondicherry as a UT. Others, for example, Chandigarh has got SDG for good number, on the SDGs, but it is because of their drinking water and those things and not necessarily for education. So SDG 4 by itself is not the contributor of our performance in the international level. So now we are talking about partnership, and that is the latest report by Niti Aayog is talking about the goal number 17. Not only our Niti Aayog, even the UN agency are also talking about the 17 goals, because now in any of the goal, that's why the interaction of the goals is very, very important, and we need to put those strategies. And the risk is because of school closures, many of children from the poorer, what we say, disadvantaged groups, I don't know what word to use for that, they will be pushed back out of school because many of them have to go to the world of work. And we are against this thing. And the same data, Manobina also says, please note that 3 in 10 people with disabilities have experienced discrimination during last 5 years. That is a world record. I'm not talking about only India. So that's what I says. And these things, school closure worldwide and this digital education and all, that has increased our challenges. And we really need to work towards this thing. And because our educational institutions also do not have the basic physical facilities, which due to COVID-19 and now the new strains coming up and all those things are happening. So people on the whole across the world are worried about the education index. Starting from there. But as I said, we are always hopeful, just as we have sad stories, we also have very hopeful. And that's why I shared with you the Divyanshi, because only yesterday that news has come from Nagpur.
It's really good. Great news. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time and kind support. We had an engaging and very enriching session today. Any concluding advice for us, ma'am?
So what I will say is, if people need this thing, these word files I will send to you, and then you can collect them as per the questions and whatever they need further information and all. But again, my request to everyone is, we all need to be continuously learning. And today, you will be surprised, this UN report I was searching 3 days back. When I was searching, I had the highlights, but the main report was not available. Today at 1:30 or so, I said, let me try once more. And now this report has come in the public domain. And from there, I really prepared that note for you all to see that it's not that we are in a difficult boat, but across the world, things have changed, and they are facing that whatever we were able to achieve till 2019, the whole world has slided back. And that's why I quoted the Supreme Court of US as well as the Supreme Court of our own country, that we all are fighting for the rights of all our kids. So I hope I for Inclusion will continue to work, and we will all continue to discuss and learn from each other. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
And we hope to keep learning from you in the future as well. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
It's my pleasure. At least I read the SDGs, though I continuously follow them, but because of this special request, I decided I will again read and see these things. So it's okay.
Many of the viewers have written. Mrs. Vijaya Prakash is a very well-known educationist herself. And she has written this. You answered her questions as well.
Okay. Thank you. This is my pleasure.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
And
So
to
can
our
we?
viewers, yes, ma'am. And to our viewers, we will be back next week with another interesting.
Yeah, you can always forward their questions to me and I will answer through the emails. No problem. Okay.
Sure.
It's my pleasure too.
Thank you very much. So, now viewers, we are coming back next week, same time, on another episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. Till then, take care and goodbye. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot once again.